I love this comic book. The Walking Dead, Book 18. Laurie thanks Alan for watching Carl and asks her son if he's okay. Crying, Carl asks if his father is crazy and if he's going to kill him too. Laurie reassures him that that's not the case. She tells Carl that the man Rick attacked was bad and that he killed Rachel and Susie and tried to kill Andrea. Carl asks if he was bad like Shane, and Laurie confirms that he was a lot like Shane. Carl says that he killed Shane before he could kill anybody, and Laurie reassures him he did the right thing, with Rick unexpectedly chiming in saying he himself did the right thing too. Rick asks Alan to give them some privacy, and then tells Laurie he is not making these decisions lightly. While he does concede to her that he may not have sounded completely rational outside, he tells her that he was. He explains that the group looks to him to keep them safe, and he owes it to them to do everything in his power to do so. He asks Laurie to see his side of things, as he needs her on his side more than anyone. Laurie replies that she doesn't know what she sees anymore, as she finds it hard to think straight, either because of exhaustion or stress or the pregnancy. She knows she's overreacting, but can't seem to stop herself, and adds that she's never had this much stress in her life before. She goes on to apologize for her behavior and agrees that Thomas should be executed. Dale walks Andrea to their cell so he can patch her up. He says that though Hershel could probably do a better job, he doubts he's in the mood to do anything. Andrea is not in a good mood herself. She asks if Thomas cut her ear, and Dale confirms, telling her that her earlobe is gone, but she'll still be able to hear. Andrea doesn't care about her hearing, she just doesn't want to look like a freak. But Dale reassures her she'll be as beautiful as ever once he cleans her up. Rick comes by to get his hand cleaned up. Dale is shocked at how horrible his hand looks. He thinks every finger in Rick's hand is broken. He is concerned if it will heal correctly or ever be able to function as a hand again. But Rick tells him he'll worry about that later. Right now, he just wants to make sure he doesn't get an infection on top of everything else. He makes clear that he has no regrets about what he did. Rick goes to Dexter's cell to release him, telling him they found the killer and he's been dealt with. Dexter asks if that's all he's going to say, and Rick confirms, asking if Dexter is going to start trouble. Dexter asks if they still have all the guns, and Rick replies that they do, though they don't want to use them. Dexter is happy to hear this, and goes on to ask who the actual killer was. Rick informs him it was Thomas the tax evader. Dexter notes that he didn't know what Thomas was really in for, but he knew it was not tax evasion, adding that he never trusted him, and that he doesn't trust a lot of people now. Thanks to Billy's previous remarks and disrespect of his father, Hershel flies into a rage, yelling at his son and beating him at the same time. After he's done, he warns Billy not to talk back to him again. Rick arrives to inform Hershel that they found the culprit. Hershel immediately wants to see him, and Rick starts walking Hershel to see Thomas. Dale asks Andrea if she feels any safer in the prison. He tells her about the doubts he has in Rick's leadership and points out that they have not stopped dying. They continue to die. He wonders what would happen if someone more organized wanted to take over the prison, as such a secure location has to be a target. Andrea asks Dale if he wants to leave, and he replies that he's thinking about it. He then starts to weigh the pros and cons out loud as Andrea tells him that while she doesn't like the idea of abandoning everyone, she will go with him wherever he goes. Glenn and Tyrese, who were watching Thomas, decide to lock him in the freezer that the inmates had previously been using as a bathroom, in order to put the waste with the waste, as Glenn explains. Rick reminds them that the freezer is airtight so he will suffocate. Then they remove him and take him to the cell block. As they are doing so, Hershel tells Thomas that he'll let the Lord be his judge and that he forgives him. Rick tells Hershel that they are still going to hang Thomas, but Hershel says that he knows and wants to watch. After they lock Thomas in a cell, Glenn goes to see Maggie, asking her how she's holding up. She informs Glenn that she doesn't think she's going to love him anymore. She does not see the point in it since he's just going to die like everyone else. Later, Patricia takes it on herself to free Thomas. She believes him to be just a sick man that needs help, but then he attempts to kill her too. During the brief encounter, Patricia manages to call for help and scratches Thomas's face, freeing herself. Patricia is furious, telling Thomas that she was going to help him only for him to grunt obscenities at her. Tyrese points a gun at Thomas, but before he can shoot him, Glenn and Maggie come up from behind, and Maggie unloads 6 rounds from her pistol into Thomas's back. Maggie then utters to those present, "Now I feel a little better." Hershel requests that Thomas's body be thrown to the zombies to be torn apart and devoured. Rick and Tyrese carry the body to the main gate. They throw Thomas's body out and run back into safety. Hershel stays to watch until it's over. Everyone else goes back. Laurie asks Rick what he's going to do with Patricia, but Rick doesn't see what they can do, as he doesn't think they can beat her into submission or lock her up. They're not animals after all. Rick says he'll talk to her when suddenly Dexter, accompanied by Andrew and armed with shotguns from the armory, says there is no need for that, as Patricia is with them now. Dexter then puts the shotgun to Rick's head and tells him to leave in very explicit terms, that his group and he need to leave the prison. They have worn out their welcome. Carl witnessed Rick beating the crap out of Thomas, and now he is scared for his life. He thinks his dad is going to beat everyone to death. Laurie tries to comfort him, and Shane is brought up. When Carl asks if he was bad like Shane, Laurie's reaction is telling in the panel. Many emotions are there, guilt included. She led Shane on, and that's what caused him to do what he did and act how he acted. Everyone thought it was Shane who was bad, but it was actually Laurie. I appreciate that both Rick and Laurie reinforced to Carl that what he did wasn't something horrible. Had he not killed Shane, then Rick would likely have been killed instead. Shane's character was never written as one of importance. He was always just a filler or a placeholder until Rick showed up. He was always expendable. Because of this, he's made out as the bad guy, when, in truth, he wasn't the bad guy. He was manipulated and used by Laurie. Now she's dealing with the fallout of that. It's affecting all 3 of them, all 4 if you count the baby she's carrying, since it's Shane's. I appreciate the fact that Laurie apologized for what she said to Rick outside. Rick is trying to maintain order and safety and calm. She is blaming her actions and choices on stress, exhaustion, and pregnancy. She is not taking responsibility for her actions, only giving excuses for them. What's worse to me is it just feels like she's acting and not sincere. This is what Rick wants to hear, so I'll just tell him what he wants to hear. What she says in front of everyone when she is putting him down or disagreeing with him, this is the real Laurie. Laurie is not a placater. She does not like following others. She clearly wants things to be going in a very different direction. When she was leading Shane on, I think that she was just doing what she was telling him to do, and so she was really in charge, not Shane. Rick is not Shane. He has a mind of his own and doesn't really listen to her. This makes her angry. Hershel's actions are a little surprising in this book. First, he attacks Billy out of frustration and grief. Billy is blaming him, but it's not his father's fault. Hershel is clearly religion and of the Christian faith, based on many things he says. This apocalypse must be more challenging for him than others. All structure and function is lost. It's just surviving. I'd assume he still prays, but at this point, I would not blame him for feeling forsaken. No one knows who or what caused this situation, and it's not getting better. It's just getting worse. The second is Thomas. He wants Thomas killed for killing his daughters. He wants revenge. He also forgives him. He leaves his soul to God for judgment. He does not judge. He wants to watch the hanging, though. After Maggie joins the group at his cell, hanging is no longer in the cards. She shot him 6 times. He's now definitely dead and making a mess. Hershel requests that he be fed to the zombies and he be allowed to watch. It's a quick and efficient way to dispose of him. All agree. Hershel does indeed watch. I don't know what kind of healing it provides him, but I guess it's better than nothing at all. Dexter is another story. He was wrongfully accused of murdering the 2 girls and locked in his cell. He's angry and bitter. When Rick releases him, no apology, nothing. This makes him angrier. If Rick had apologized, then what happens next might not have happened. Andrew succeeded in his mission to get into A Block for the guns with the riot gear. Now Dexter is fully armed and extremely angry. I don't really think anyone can blame him. He was accused of a crime he didn't commit. He said several times that he killed the only two people he wanted to kill, and they're both dead now. 2 little kids are not his wife and the guy she was cheating on him with. Laurie sent this in emotion by accusing him and locking him up. Now Rick is staring down the barrel of the shotgun Dexter is armed with. He can see Patricia has joined Dexter and the prisoners. When he's ordered to drop his gun, he does. But what's going to happen now? They are clearly being evicted from the prison. Yet again, no safe place. Had a few things been done differently, maybe there could have been a peaceful coexistence. I'm not sure. It could have been possible. What will happen at the prison now? Thanks for tuning in to the I Love This Comic Book podcast. If you would like to make a donation in support of this podcast, you can through Cash App to Pasta26MC. That's pasta like the food, the number 2, the number 6, M as in monkey, C as in cat. If you would like to sponsor this podcast or advertise on it, please send an email to podcast@pastasworld.com. As always, you can go to pastasworld.com for more information.